Hello everyone, my name is Mrs Lyani Cebrian. Welcome to my video tutorial lessons. I hope you will build your mathematical skills as you watch this video. Are you ready? Let's begin! Good day everyone. Are you ready to learn today? Alright, let's begin. Our lesson is factoring perfect square trinomials, or PST for short. P for perfect, S for square, and T for trinomials. Alright? Objectives of the lesson. At the end of the lesson, you will be able to, number 1, discover the pattern in a perfect square trinomial and factor perfect square trinomials completely. Okay. Let's have a review first. Find the square of this binomial. Example 1, quantity a plus b squared. This is equal to quantity a plus b times quantity a plus b. Using the famous method, the FOIL method, okay, we will multiply the first terms, and then the outer terms, then the inner terms, and then the last terms, and then simplify. Okay? So multiplying the first terms, a times a, that will give us a squared. Okay? Next, multiplying the outer terms, a times b, which gives us ab. And then we multiply the inner terms, b times a, which gives us ab. And then we have the last terms. We multiply b times b, that will give us b squared. Okay, we'll simplify our product. We have a squared, bring down the a squared. You collect the like terms, ab plus ab, that gives us 2ab. And then just simply bring down the last term, b squared. Therefore, this is now the product of these binomials, or we can simply say the square of this binomial, a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. This is what we call the perfect square trinomial, or PST. Okay? Now, the second example. Example number 2, we have quantity a minus b squared. Ngayon naman, minus yung sign sa gitna. So, anong gagawin natin pag ganyan? Ganun pa rin ba yung ating product? Obviously, it will not be the same. Because this is the same as, or this is equal to quantity a minus b times quantity a minus b. So, using the same method, the FOIL method, okay, we'll multiply the first terms, a times a. Then we multiply, okay, a squared. Then we multiply the outer terms, a times negative b, which is negative ab. Then we'll multiply the inner terms, negative b times a, which is negative ab. And then the last terms, negative b times negative b, which gives us positive b squared. Okay, simplifying, we have a squared. We add like terms, negative ab plus negative ab is negative 2ab plus b squared. This is almost the same with the previous product at example 1. But the only difference is, yes, you are right. The middle term is negative because the middle sign here is also having a negative sign at the given square of the binomial. So, yan lang naman ang diferensya. Kung plus dito, okay, kung plus dito, plus din doon. Kung minus dito, minus din dito. Alright? Okay, so this is another form. We have a negative sign at the middle. The first example, we have all signs are positive. So yun lang naman. Those are the two patterns that we should be looking at as we move on to our main lesson this morning. Okay, I hope that's very clear. Okay, moving on to our lesson. We are now given the product or the perfect square trinomial, and then we will find the factors. So we have the two different forms or pattern. If all the terms are positive, the factors will have all positive signs. But if the given product has a negative sign at the middle, as you can see here, okay, we also have a negative sign at the middle of the first and the second term of our binomial in our factors. Okay, checking the characteristics of perfect square trinomials. Number 1, or letter A, the first term is a perfect square. Always check that the first term is a perfect square. Letter B, the last term or the third term is also a perfect square. That's B squared. Okay? Okay. A squared and B squared. First term and last term. Alright? Now what about the third? Okay, letter C. The middle term is equal to twice the product of the square root of the first term, which is A, and the square root of the last term, which is B in this example. So, twice the product of the square root of the first term, which is A, and the square root of the last term, which is B. So, what will be twice the product of A and B? That will be 2AB for the positive or negative 2AB for the negative. Okay? Now let's move on. Okay, moving on to the exercises. We factor these perfect square trinomials. Okay, pattern. A squared plus 2AB plus B squared. If this is the given pattern of the perfect square trinomial, our factors are quantity A plus B times quantity A plus B. Or simply, this is equal to quantity A plus B squared. Alright, next, A squared minus 2AB plus B squared. If the middle term is negative, then the factors are quantity A minus B times quantity A minus B, or quantity A minus B squared. Get it? Right, I hope that's very clear. Now remember, in here, in this pattern, where the A and the B here represent any variable. Sometimes they can be X or Y, they can be M and N, right? Or any letters that represent a variable, right? First exercise, x squared plus 6x plus 9. How do we write the factors? So, listen carefully. Write down the quantity sign, okay? The open and the close parenthesis. And then, find the square root of the first term plus the square root of the last term. Okay, the square root of x squared being the first term plus square root of 9, which is the last term. And then we write our answer. Okay, you have square root of x squared is x, square root of 9 is 3. And then we have there the squared, quantity sign squared. But wait, ma'am, paano ka nakakasiguro yan na Yan nga yung kanyang factors. Alright, let's check. We have the third characteristic, diba? That's the way or the method that we use to check it. Check if the middle term, 6x, is equal to twice the product of the square root of the first term, which is x, times the square root of the last term, which is 3. So 2 times x times 3 is equal to 6x. Therefore, they are equal. Okay? So if that is the case, yes, it is. This is now our sure factor. Therefore, x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to the factors quantity x plus 3 squared, or quantity x plus 3 times quantity x plus 3. Alright? I hope that's clear. Oh, you need more examples, of course. Let's move on to second example. Example number 2, y to the fourth plus 10y squared plus 25 is equal to, okay, listen carefully. Write down the quantity symbol. Alright? Find the square root of the first term. Anong first term natin? Y to the fourth. Okay, plus the square root of the last term. Anong last term natin? 25. Then, squared. Okay, square root of y to the fourth. Paano nyo kukunin yung square root ng y to the fourth? You simply divide the exponent by 2 when you are getting the square root. So, we will have 4 divided by 2. That becomes 2. The square root now of y to the fourth is y squared. Plus, the square root of 25 is 5. Okay, then we have quantity squared. O yan na yung factors. O sigurado ka ba, ma'am? E di check natin. Diba? Problema ba yan? I-check natin yan. Check if the middle term, ano ba yung middle term? 10y squared. Okay? 10y squared is equal to twice the square root of the first term, which is y squared, times the square root of the last term, which is 5. Eto lang, baba mo lang yan dito. Baba mo lang yan dyan para mag-check ka. Get their product and then you multiply by 2. So, 10y squared is equal to 2 times y squared times 5 is 10y squared. So, they're equal. Therefore, the product of y to the fourth plus 10y squared plus 25 is equal to the quantity y squared plus 5 squared. There you are. We are done with 2 examples. May katanungan ba? Okay. Let's continue. Exercise number 3. 4m squared minus 24mn plus 36n squared. So, pag mapapansin nyo, ang middle term natin ay negative. Okay? So, the pattern or the steps are the same. Write the quantity symbols. Alright? And then, get the square root. Ngayon naman, I use the symbol of square root. The first and second example, I use words so that you will get use of words as well as symbols. Okay? Symbols pala, hindi symbols. Okay? Square root of the first term, 4m squared, minus, so mapapansin nyo yung negative natin, this follows here now. So, minus square root of the last term, which is 36n squared. Then, close quantity there, and squared. So, what is the square root of 4? Kunin na natin. 2. Square root of m squared is m. Minus square root of 36, that's 6. Square root of n squared is n. Then, close quantity there and squared. O, yan na yung factors natin. Sure ka ba yan, ma'am? I-check natin. Okay, check if the middle term is 24mn. Okay? This is equal to twice. So, twice the product of 2m times 6n. Oh, okay. 2 times 2 is 4, times 6 is 24. Times n is 24mn. All right. Therefore, we now can say that the factors of 4m squared minus 24mn plus 36n squared is equal to the quantity 2m minus 6n squared. Ay, natakpan na ni ma'am. Sorry, basta doon may squared ha. Okay? O, may katanungan ba? Is it clear? Okay. Very good. Let's move on to another example. Okay, exercise number 4. 10a squared plus 20a plus 10. In this example, you would notice that 10a squared is not a perfect square, and the last term, which is 10, is not also a perfect square. So, paano yun, ma'am? How can we apply the steps or the method? Okay, ganito yan. If ever you see that the terms, the first and the last terms are not perfect squares, check if they have greatest common factor for all the 3 terms. And in here, there is. Since there is a common factor, you factor out the GCF first. What is the GCF? You're right, that is 10. So, dividing the trinomial or each of the terms by 10 to get the polynomial factors inside the quantity symbol. So, 10a squared divided by 10. Here, 10a squared divided by 10, that's a squared, plus 20a divided by 10, that's 2a, plus 10 divided by 10, you have plus 1. Now, you will notice that the polynomial factor here is a perfect square trinomial because the first term is a perfect square and the last term is a perfect square as well. So 10 will just be factored out in here as GCF. We will continue factoring this perfect square trinomial here. Okay, so we write down the quantity symbols. Square root of a squared, sulat natin yan, plus square root of the last term, which is 1. Okay? So, 10 times the quantity, square root of a squared is a. Okay, yan. Square root of 1 is 1, of course. And then, the square. Okay? Check if the middle term of perfect square trinomial, this is the perfect square trinomial, okay? Remember, this is not the perfect square trinomial. Yan yung original trinomial. Okay, na kung saan, finactor natin yung GCF na 10. Itong naiwan na factor dito, the polynomial factor here, is the one that is perfect square trinomial. So, 2a is the middle term, not 20a, ha? 2a is equal to twice the product of the square root of the first term, a, times the square root of the last term, which is 1. So 2 times a times 1 is equal to 2a, which is equal to 2a from the middle term here. Okay? So that will confirm our previous solution here. So 10a squared plus 20a plus 10 is equal to, okay, 10. Sulat na natin. 10 times the quantity a plus 1 squared, or 10 times the quantity a plus 1 times the quantity a plus 1. Okay? I hope it's clear. May katanungan po ba? Okay, going to the last example. Example 5. 12x to the power of 4 plus 36x squared y cubed plus 27y to the power of 6. Oh, haba-haba naman yan, ma'am. Hirap yata yan. Hindi. Okay? Yan mahirap. You'll just follow the pattern and the steps that we are doing. Okay, listen carefully. So, tingnan nyo yung 12. Is that a perfect square? Hindi yata, ma'am. Tama kayo. Ay, yung 27 doon sa last term. Perfect square pa din yan. Hindi rin yata, ma'am. Tama pa rin kayo. So, since we don't have first and the last terms being perfect squares, baka naman may common factor yan. Tingnan natin. 12, 36, 27. Meron nga. Since there is a common factor, you factor out the GCF first. So, anong GCF? Okay, tama kayo. 3 ang GCF. Okay, divide all the terms now here of the polynomial by the GCF 3. So, 12 divided by 3, now 12x to the 4th divided by 3 is 4x to the power of 4. Then 36x squared y cubed divided by 3 will give us 12x squared y cubed. Then 27y to the power of 6 divided by 3 will be 9y to the power of 6. Okay, let's simplify or continue to factor. We bring down the 3. This 3 remains there. Parang gwardiya na yan dyan. Hindi na yan maaalis. Huwag lilipat. Hindi na yan lalagay kahit saan. Dyan lang yan. Okay? That's the GCF. But inside this, the next polynomial factor, mapapansin ninyo na yung first term is a perfect square and the last term is also a perfect square. So, dapat dapat yung mga mata ninyo parang matang lawin dyan. Okay, you always have to be eyeing for perfect square whenever you see a trinomial. Okay, so ang gawin natin ngayon, just the same, sulat natin yung quantity symbols and then get the square root of the first term, 4x to the 4th, plus, since everything is having a plus sign, plus the square root of the last term, 9y to the power of 6 squared. Okay, next. So, 3 times the quantity square root of 4x to the 4th is 2x squared plus square root of 9y to the 6 is 3y cubed. Kasi pag kukunin mo yung square root ng y to the power of 6, divide mo lang ng 2 yung 6 para makuha mo yung exponent ng y. Okay? And then, sulat yung squared. Yan na yung factors. O, diba? Dali naman yan eh. Okay, check natin. Check if the middle term of the given or the perfect square trinomial will match with the characteristic. Okay, ano ba yung middle term? 12x squared y cubed. Ito yung perfect square trinomial natin ha. Hindi ito. Ito yung original na trinomial, but there is a common factor here. Kaya nag-factor out muna tayo ng GCF. Ang perfect square trinomial natin ngayon ay itong polynomial factor dito. Okay? And so, we check if 12x squared y cubed will be the product that we will get. So, twice 2 times square root of the first term times square root of the last term. So 2 times 2x squared times 3y cubed is 12x squared y cubed. Yes! So we have check it. Since they are equal, we can say that 12x to the power of 4 plus 36x squared y cubed plus 27y to the power of 6 is equal to 3, the quantity 2x squared plus 3y cubed squared. Okay? So we can say that this is now the final factors. Alright. Meron pa ba? Now I think it's your turn. Ready? Okay, moving on to the generalization. Let's summarize the steps that we have done in finding the factors of perfect square trinomials. First, factor out the GCF of the three terms if it is possible. Ma'am, paano pag hindi possible? What if there is no GCF? Then you proceed to step number 2. Inside the quantity symbol, write the square root of the first term of the perfect square trinomial as the first term of the binomial factor. Step 3. Write the square root of the last term of the perfect square trinomial as the last term of the binomial factor, following the sign of the middle term in the given trinomial. And then number 4, write the factors as square of a binomial. Alright? That ends our discussion this morning. Now it's your turn to do your activity. Okay, thank you for your active participation.